So let's start the stream proper. Gonna go through some of the stuff I've been looking at with the PC-88. It's a really interesting system. I've always known about it. I've never really looked into it before. So I think it's an interesting system because a lot of the information out there about it is hard to find or obscure or not in English. So trying to figure out even how to boot and play games can be difficult. So I kind of want to show how I even got some of these games working, or how you can get some of these games working. I initially tried to set up all of this inside RetroArch, but I feel like it's easier to use some of the emulators directly because of kind of how weird the systems are, and also because it's basically a PC clone, so most of the games are played with PC keyboard input, so you're kind of stepping over all of the default RetroArch hotkey mappings if you're trying to run inside RetroArch. You can disable that with like a global hotkey disable or something like that inside RetroArch. But I think also I wasn't able to figure out some of the disk swapping or multi-disk operation for the PC-88 inside RetroArch, and also loading tapes inside RetroArch, which I might show off later. I couldn't figure out inside RetroArch, but inside the emulator directly, I was able to figure it out. So the emulator I'm using here is called Quasi88, and this is running just directly on a new M1 Mac, compiled from source via Homebrew. Right now it's version 0.6.4 it says, but this is also available as a RetroArch core. This was what I was trying to use inside RetroArch and couldn't quite figure out. Some of that was due to, I think, maybe just the difficulty in getting the firmware set up. RetroArch in their Quasi88 core documentation has a published list of the checksums for the firmware images that you're supposed to use. I was able to find all of them except for one, the disk firmware ROM. That doesn't seem to quite matter. You can use another disk firmware image, and it seems to work fine. But I wasn't able to find that one disk firmware ROM. And then also, I think some of the other firmwares, if you're mixing and matching different firmwares, things might not work or might not boot. I think right now what I'm booting with is all of the RetroArch Quasi88 checksum firmwares, with the exception of that disk ROM. But yeah, so a lot of these games are hard to find or hard to find information about in English. What you got right here is a licensed Studio Ghibli game for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. So this is a little infamous because this is the game that made Hayao Miyazaki hate video games, according to this article by Rainey Baker, and she did some good investigation here and documentation of this game, and really without this I probably wouldn't be able to play this at all. But even figuring out how to get to the point to where I could use this guide to play this game was a little bit confusing. So I kind of wanted to document some of that, because if you look up this game on YouTube or something like that, you'll see people playing through it with no commentary about how they're playing through it or how they booted the game or what they're playing it on. So I kind of want to document how you can kind of boot and play some of these games. So right now, like I said, I'm using Quasi88, and maybe I should just show how I'm booting this, because it did take a lot of trial and error to figure out the different settings. So I am in 4 megahertz mode, and that's, I think, what the original PC-88 systems ran at. I'm not sure if there's any incompatibilities with the games I'm going to be showing if I tried to run them in 8 megahertz mode. But that's the default for Quasi88 as well. But some of the other settings that I'm using, I'm trying to get Quasi88 to have basically better emulation accuracy, because I think by default it's trying to optimize for speed a little bit, and I'm not sure if some of the errors that you run into with emulation are a result of that that trade-off of trying to get more speed for less accuracy. So I'm using it in 4 megahertz mode with this CPU2 argument. That means that it's always emulating both the subsystem processor and the main processor instead of trying to trade off between them, I believe. So I believe that should give greater emulation accuracy. For this specific game, I'm booting it in V1S mode. The other modes are V1H and V2, and then also the very basic mode is in mode. So those you can pass as arguments when you boot Quasi88. And this game is, I believe, for V1S mode. And those correspond to different versions of the PC-88 basic, like in basic or N88 basic. And then I'm also using the mem wait option to wait for memory, and then also the FDC wait option to wait for the floppy disk, because I figure both of those will increase the emulation accuracy. And double is just to double the resolution, and 10 key is what I found to be the setting that I needed to use to be able to control this specific game. A lot of the other games I've played inside the PC-88 emulator here, I was able to use without that option, but this game I wasn't able to move the character at all without that option. So let's go back to the window here. You can also access these if you hit the F12 key. You can bring up the menu. So a lot of these are in Japanese as well, but you can kind of figure out what they are if you already know what you're looking for, or if you can read Japanese. But so here we have the N88 V1S options, the 4 megahertz option, the sound options. We can go over to CPU. Most of these are at the default settings except for that FDC wait and mem wait. I believe this is display, so that's the doubling. Let's see here, sound, drives, and then let's see, tape. I believe one of these was keyboard, where you could set the yeah. So this one is the keyboard and input options. Where you can set the 10 key option if you haven't set it already. Maybe there's a different keyboard configuration where you don't need that. Maybe if you have a numpad, you don't need that. But I found that with a traditional keyboard with no numpad, I needed to set the 10 key option to control the character in this specific game. I'm actually going to reboot this real quick so you can see the boot up sequence as well. So one thing to note about this game as well is that part of the difficulty with it is that it's a little hard to find in some places, and there's a few different dumps of it, and it seems like all of them have bad sectors. So they seem to all have been dumped from different disks with different bad sectors. I'm not sure if there's a good way to reconcile that. I've looked at the files in the hex editor, and most of them only differ by like a byte from each other. One of the dumps differs more significantly from the others. And that's the one I've loaded here because I haven't played through this one yet to see if the same crashes occur when you get to specific points in the game. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to play through up to the point where the first crash happens and see if that happens with this specific dump of the game. I'm not sure if it's due to the dump or if it's due to the code or if it's due to the emulator. It's really hard to tell. And without running it on like original hardware, it's really hard to know, if it would run without crashing on original hardware. And the other thing is like inspecting the original source code. it's hard to experiment with without being able to inject that modified source code back into the disk image, which I haven't been able to do yet. I have a good way to get to the source code and extract the source code out of the ROM, but when it comes to modifying the disk image with any changes, I haven't figured out a process for that yet. So let's see here. Let's go to show specifically. So right now I'm loading the set 1 ROM, which is noted as having bad sectors, and you can see above here's the different dumps that I've found in this game, and their MD5 hashes. None of these are in TOSEC as well. TOSEC is like TOSEC, the old school emulation center. They publish hashes for dumps of games from all sorts of consoles, including the PC-88, but it seems like their PC-88 coverage is pretty sparse, because there's a lot of games that have dumps available somewhere on the internet that aren't in there. So if you look around, you can find different ROM sets for the PC-88, and these together you can kind of like cobble together a more complete set of any specific game. So right now I'm running that set 1 ROM. I've tried the other ones, and I've had the same crash on those, but this one I don't think I've played through to the crash point. Let's see here. Show where got some of this information from. This is illusioncity.net. If you look there for any PC-88 series emulators, tools, lists, etc., that was where I was able to find some of the information about where some of these sets are, what some of these sets might be. So, for example, they have the TOSEC sets and DATs, which are the DATs are the hash files. But because they have all the game listings here, you can see inside these listings like what was included in each one, and then you can look through and see if any string matches across all of these. So across all of these, I think there's only 4 unique versions of this game, which I showed earlier. So this Peter JPack has one, and then this PC-88 1840 has one. Those two are the same across those, which are not included in the other 3, which are the Neo-Kobe ones. So the Peter JPack is available from his site, I believe, and then the PC-88 1840 set is available on archive.org if you search there, and then also the Neo-Kobe PC-8801 set is also available on archive.org if you search there. So that will have the other 3. So between the 1840 and the Neo-Kobe, you'll have all 4 dumps that I know about of the game. There might be some others. I think some of these other sets have a listing for this game, and I wasn't able to find the set, so there might be other dumps of this game. I don't know. Let's see. Let's go back, and we can go ahead and start the game. So all of this is just the like background story for Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. I think it's just an intro text here. The other thing you'll notice, it's a really slow. It's a kind of a slow system. Might see a little bit more of that once we get into the gameplay. So this is just explaining the controls. Press A to pick up, and then the important thing here is like 1, 5, 2, 3. So that's left, up, down, right. So that input I wasn't able to get without the 10 key setting on this emulator. And this is just, I think, more instructions for the controls. Alright, and then we boot up and we're in the game. And I'm going to just use the number keys to move. So 1 will move, should move me left, I think. Let's see here. And if you're not hearing sound, I think that's accurate. Let's see. So here is where the guide comes in handy, because I really have no idea where anything is or what's going on. So let's load up the guide alongside it. Let's go back over here to this guide. If you look for this title, I hacked the video game that made Hayao Miyazaki Hate Video Games by Randy Baker, you'll find this. Then if you scroll down, there's kind of a tutorial down here that tells you what you need to get. You need to get the goggles, face mask, and knife. So we need to find those objects, and they're inside houses that are around this village. So we need to walk through sections of the village and then press A in front of the houses that have the items in them that we need. And then once all that's done, we can go to the last house and get into the glider. And that after that sequence, it seems to crash every single time. So we'll see if that crashes with this dump of the game. But first, we need to find our items, and this is kind of a slow process. So let's see. So we can see right now we start out on F here because the roads are black. And then we can position ourselves based on what the buildings look like. So we're between this little red building and the windmill building. And let's go ahead and get the goggles over here, which look kind of like, I don't know what they look like, but they don't really look like goggles to me. So it's 1, 2, 3, 5? Yeah, 3. Okay. So 3 moves right. So let's walk over and grab the goggles. And yeah, this is really how fast this game goes as well. Alright, we're almost to the goggles, and once we're in front of the door, we can press A to pick them up and put them in our inventory. A. Alright, we got the goggles. Alright, so now let's see here. Let's go up. So I think if we go to E, if this road takes us to E, I'm not sure. The article says that some versions of this game have the paths take you to different places across different dumps of the game. So I'm not sure if this is accurate for this dump, but that the objects that the houses will be in will be the same across all the dumps that they've encountered. Let's see here. So if we go to E, we'll go to the blue road. Take us anywhere. Let's see. We'll see. Take us anywhere. I don't know if this this first one will take. We'll see. C will take us to the mass. So let's go ahead and go to C. All right. Oh wait, yeah, I already got that. All right. So let's go over to the path that should hopefully take us up to C. So I'm pressing 1 to walk left here. I'm gonna press 5 to go up the path. And you really gotta like hold it down for them to get all the way up the path, because I'm just holding 5 here. Let's see how long it takes to get up this path. Alright, hopefully we should be on C with green roads, which that looks right. So we're gonna walk over and grab the mask. And then all we should need is the knife. And we should be good to get in the glider and probably crash the game. Let's see. Alright. So got the mask. Okay, and from here we need the knife. So we need to get to D. And luckily we can get directly there from here if we go left a little bit again. All right, let's see here. Path. Again, you really just got to hold 5 there to get anywhere with it. All right, so we should be on D with the knife. So we can actually go just left to wrap around and get to the knife, I believe. So once we do that, we need to get back and find the glider. Go in front of the house with a knife. And press A. And we get a knife. Alright, so we need to get back down to F. Is there a direct route from C to F, from D to F? No. So we can go to, let's see, we'll see. Yeah, so we can get from here to C and then go from C to F. So let's just take this path. We should be on C, and then we can go to F from here. All right, let's see. All right, and then F, let's see, B, oh wait, no, I didn't need to go to F, I need to go to A. Okay, well, luckily, A is right here, so. It would help if I actually looked at the guide correctly. Yeah, that's the path we need to go up. Okay. So that should take us to A, where the glider is. Go up to the double door windmill and press A, and we should get in the glider and start the glider sequence. And probably the game will crash after we launch the glider. That's my experience with the other versions of this game, or the other dumps of this game. Press A, glider, alright, I don't think your answer to this actually matters any for emulation purposes, so I'm just going to answer no to this actually here. So I need to press A to launch. So you have to like press and hold A to try to launch, I believe. So I'm going to do that, and I think right after that it should crash, or it will crash. Let's see. I'm holding down A. Well. Oh, well, almost. Maybe not. Okay. It seemed like it was about to actually do something there, but then it crashed. So it seems like that affects this version of the game as well. Let me pull up the code for that. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I've been able to dump the basic code out of the game and the data files out of the game, but I haven't been able to like modify that and put it back into the disk image. That's a little bit trickier, it seems like. I'm not really sure. So this is the dump that I've made out of that out of the base disk image. That's not the one we just played, but it's pretty close. So that's the sequence that we just went through. There is this fly 1 sequence, which is coded in BASIC, and you can see exactly what I'm talking about once I load it up. As you can see, the instructions here that we just saw, asking us about our TV, if it's 640 by 400, yes or no. And I mean, it's pretty readable if you know even just like regular old BASIC. There's some stuff that I have no idea what's going on, but you can kind of piece it out. But like it seems like once we get down here, this line 630 is where it's doing the input testing for if you're holding down A to launch the ship, and then after that, it's loading up the flying sequence. So I can't tell if it's in this basic file or if it's in the I think it's like this Fukai 1 basic, which I think is also a basic file in here that winds up crashing. And I also can't tell, if that's just the emulators, or if that would happen on actual hardware. Or if it's due to the dump, or if it's due to something else. I don't know. So this must be the flying sequence, but yeah, I can't tell without more debugging in the emulator. And I don't think Quasi88 really has much debugging functionality that I saw. I could be wrong on that, but yeah, I didn't see any debug functionality in there to try to figure out why exactly it's crashing here. So I don't know if like that initial draw we got was this booting up and starting, and then so maybe it's somewhere in this file that it's crashing. I'm not sure, but I think the other flying sequences also have this problem. Is my understanding. I haven't tried to use the patches to get around some of that stuff. So I figure maybe, while I'm here, while I've got some time, I might also show how to load up a tape game, because I couldn't figure that out as well. That was kind of a confusing process with this emulator. So I'm going to load up, let's see here, load up a English translation patched game. Let me put that in the browser and then load that. So I'm still getting used to figuring out how to work OBS as well. Alright, let's do Safari. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to load up this, which is, if you download it, it's a t88 file, which means it's tape. The disk files are d88 files, usually. So yeah, let's load this up. And to do that, it says it's a V1, so I'm going to load it in V1S mode with Quasi88. And then just specify no disk image when I launch Quasi88. Let's see here, let me make sure all my other settings are... Okay. Let me switch back to Quasi88 now, because yeah, when you load up with nothing in it, you'll get this prompt, and you really don't know what you should do. So you can kind of ignore this. I think you can hit enter even, and you can put F0, and then to load up a tape game, you would put mon R. But the problem is I haven't even loaded up the tape yet. So I don't think you can specify t88 file as a command line argument. Maybe you can, and I just haven't figured it out. But you can do it through the GUI here. If you hit F12, it'll bring up the menu, and you go to tape over here. And then you can load up a tape. So we're gonna load up that tape, that t88 file from earlier. And then we can just exit out of this. And then here is where we're gonna type the mon-r command to load up. And thankfully they've said here, you know, mon-r press S. So that means do mon-r. That will load up the tape. I think there's other ways to do this. You can do like the load quote cas colon, I think, and there's a shortcut in this emulator to type out the load part of that, because I think the apostrophe key or the quote key can be a little bit hard to type sometimes, or it's mapped differently on the PC-88, and I'm not sure how it's mapped here in this emulator. But I'm not sure if there's any difference between doing that and then mon-r, because I really have no idea. But that will load the game correctly, at least for our purposes. So you'll also be able to see that the tape loading is pretty slow. So I think it's loading from the tape right now, and you can actually see, if you pull up the GUI again, you can see the progress that's made on the tape. And I think you can kind of accelerate this. Let me pull back up to just this. I think you can kind of accelerate this if you go to CPU and then set no wait just while the tape is loading. It should, I believe, speed through the tape loading. Let's see. Let's check. That's not what I'm gonna do. Let's see. Okay. I think it's almost loaded. Yeah. So I think normally that would take much longer. And let's turn off no wait now that we've loaded it. I don't know if you're getting any like game audio mix on this. I can't really tell. But yeah, that's how you load a tape game. I don't even know if you can do that if you try to run this inside RetroArch, because I don't see any options to load a tape inside RetroArch. And I think some of the other options as well, I don't know if you can get the 10 key option. I don't know if you can get, I think one of the, either the floppy disk controller or memory weight option, I don't think you can get inside RetroArch. And I don't know if those actually affect the game accuracy or anything, but I press S to start. And we're in the game. After it loads, of course. Alright, so this is just a kind of a text adventure. I might just play around with it a little bit. One of the confusing things here, space doesn't actually press space. You need to press the right arrow key. At least for my keyboard in this configuration, to make it space, so it's a little bit counterintuitive. Oh, that's not what I meant. I meant go forward. So I'll probably just play through this until a ghost kills us, and then probably end the stream there. So hopefully that was helpful. Maybe maybe I can talk a little bit more while I've got this up about what I've tried to use to fix some of the issues I've run into in that other game, in that Nausicaa game, to try to edit that basic file and see if I can figure out why the game is crashing, or to jump over whatever is causing the crash. So I got the basic file out that you saw earlier. Let me just. Well, no, I'm gonna switch back. I got the basic file out with d88 edj, d88 edge, I think. Let me switch over to Safari, because this Illusion City PC-88 page is where I found some of these d88 tools to work with. I think that d88 edge is linked from there. That's what I was using to extract the basic files. I tried also to use. There's a few other programs for working with d88 files linked from here and from elsewhere. There's a program called L3 Disk Explorer, and I can extract the basic files, but it's in some sort of binary format that I can't easily manipulate them, and I think that tool seems to be able to extract the files and re-import them back into the disk image, but I'm not sure how to do the editing of the basic file that I get out of that program. The problem with the d88 Edge is it can extract the file but not re-inject it in the disk image. I've also tried using a program called Dump List Editor, but it seemed every time I try to load one of these disk images into that, I get a sector error, and I get that with a lot of other disk images as well. So I'm not entirely sure if it's something with my configuration, or maybe just I've only tried disk images with bad sectors. But I did try actually loading this tape image in there. That seemed to load successfully. So I'm not sure. Maybe I just have bad. I've only tried bad images or something like that. Maybe there's some way to fix the sector error in the existing disk images. I'm not sure. And I've also tried another tool called like d88 split that can convert to some kind of like a disk format called Mahalito, I think. But I wasn't able to actually like modify that Mahalito data. It says you can mount it as like a MS-DOS disk data disk, but I couldn't actually do that inside any of the systems that I have access to. macOS would say that it doesn't support disk images with that sector count, and I think I wasn't able to actually do anything with that to be able to manipulate the files and then put them back into the disk image. So anyway, that's my experiments with trying to hack around with that stuff to get around that crash that we saw earlier. But let's go back to this and see if it ghost kills us. Let's see, maybe let's go right. Let's go going right again. I'm trying to remember. Actually, I want to go left here because I think I played through this a little bit before and I've gotten killed each time. I don't think I've really explored the left area here because if you go forward, you can kind of go into that little nook. You kind of see that back there. Go forward and then go left. One of the awkward things about this game in particular is there's no turning, so you can't like turn left or anything like that. You can only go relative to the way you're looking. Yeah. You can't really look at much. Like if there's something on the floor and you want to pick it up, you can't look at the floor to have it tell you what it thinks it is. Like this took me a while to figure out what it is. There's some helpful spoiler files included with the download for this that have both a list of verbs and nouns that you can use. So from that, we can do. Let's see here. So if you do like look for. Oh wait, no, it actually does tell us. Never mind. Maybe I can just read. I don't know if we can use grab. Is that a verb? And go forward. I think there's also a walkthrough in that guide, but I haven't looked at that. It's Rot 13 for spoiler purposes, and I might just do it like a playthrough where I just play through this game and try to figure it out, but I don't know. For right now, I might just wait until a ghost kills us and see what happens. Let's see here. Oh, it's just a window. All right. Go left. Oh, it's just a bathtub. And can we go right now? We can. Well, so maybe there's not anything back here. I could read the memo that we. Let's see. Switch will open a hidden door. That switch is cuts off. Also, no music in this game, I don't think. At least not during regular gameplay. Oh, we're in the yard. Let's see. Looks like we can go right. I don't think it'll let us go forward. Open door. Nope. Okay. Oh yeah, so I think this is the one that I was thinking about. Maybe, yeah. What is that on the floor? Look. Floor. Oh, it's just a floor. So it's actually a lighter there, I believe. But how you would figure that out originally, I don't know. That's good. And there's little tricks here because you can't actually look around. I think you can actually go back here. I'm constantly hitting space instead of right to make a space as well. Can we go back here? Let's see. Go back one more time. We'll be back in that main hallway. No, we're in the living room. Let's do look. Picture. So we can move picture. Push, switch. Hey, why not? Let's hopefully we can get out of here. Probably a ghost is gonna kill us. Oh, we can't do anything. You would think you could do like use lighter. What is use? No. So burn memo. I don't know. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think we can really do anything here. Or do much, at least. It's too dark to do that. Okay. Greet ghost. What is greet? Okay. Kill ghost. You were killed. Okay. Maybe we were the ghost all along. Who knows? Game over. You push any key to restart. Yeah. So that's Horror House. Yeah. Let's see. I've got that window up still. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end the stream. 2 games that I don't know how to play. But at least you can get into them and figure out how to play them. It's a little confusing, yeah. There's not much like English language stuff about the PC-88 out there, and it's a little bit confusing to get games started. But I think it's interesting because a lot of this stuff is like really, really early, influential games. That went on to influence the other games that you know and love. So it's interesting to go back and see kind of what this early PC history is, what this early, Japanese gaming history is. A lot of it didn't make it over here, so a lot of it is obscure and hard to find. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop it there. Have a nice night.